Welcome to Step to the Fun. We have a beautiful queen with us today, Heather Doram, joining us from very sunny Antigua. I'm not being jealous at all. In being in the very grey Bristol in the UK at the moment. Welcome, Heather. And
thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, where you are, and what do you do?
Yeah. Okay, as you said, I was born and raised in beautiful country of Antigua and Barbuda. It's a twin island country, Antigua being the main island and Barbuda a smaller island about 20 miles offshore. I was born and raised here. All the earlier years of my education was done here. And then I went off to Jamaica to do a first degree and then to Savannah College to do a master's degree. I'm a visual artist. I was born a visual artist. I never wanted to do anything else. I never loved anything else. That's me. That's my passion. I was raised in the post-colonial area where the sugar industry was still a big deal in Antigua. That was our main industry. And my dad worked for that sugar industry. And that means we were all born and raised on various plantations or sugar estates dotted all around the country. And it was a very transient kind of upbringing because we had to move. They kept transferring my dad, and we had to keep moving from one estate to another every 2 or 3 years or so. And it was like maybe in the 1970s, 80s that my dad stopped working and we moved to our present location, which is pretty much near the capital city of St. John's. So I'm a country girl growing up in the country, and it was fun. It was a beautiful childhood. My love of nature, I think, stems from that. And we didn't have any neighbors or anything like that because our estates were just dotted around the country. The nearest people might be in a village nearby. But I had 6 sisters, so there's 7 girls in my family. And so we basically had to rely on each other, and we became each other's playmates, along with the various characters who would have worked on the estates, like the man who looked after the horses. We had maids in those days, gardeners and things like that. So that was pretty much my upbringing until I went to St. John's to secondary school in my primary years and continued there until I went off to college and things like that. So I'm a visual artist, I'm an educator, definitely a feminist, definitely an activist. I'm an actress. I acted in films. I acted on the stage. I did a couple of stage plays. I acted in a television series. I was part of a 4-woman panel for a TV show called Keeping It Real. And quite recently, I had my own radio talk show called Let's Talk About Life. So, I'm pretty diverse.
Multi-talented. Wow, it's an impressive portfolio. And I am assuming that the painting behind you is your work, the beautiful painting.
Definitely. And yes. If I can just jump right to them. When the pandemic hit us last year in March, I was in one of those slumps. There are periods where my creativity just like bubbles and boils, and I just keep working. I go into kind of like a manic phase where I just things keep coming to the fore and I have to get them on the canvas. And so I got into a pretty depressed state at the beginning of the pandemic because this was something new. And, you're worrying about your family, your health, you're worrying about when are we going to get out of this? What is going to be the solution and things like that. And I think I was just absorbing too much of what was happening on the media at the time. And it's my sister, same sister who lives in England, and she told me that she thinks I need to just shut off all the media, stop reading social media. And I did that. And the solution was going into my studio. And so I just started producing a whole series of work related to COVID and the desperation and the hopelessness that people, felt at the time. And in the middle of producing that series of work, or that body of work, up comes the Black Lives Matter movement in the United States, and Black persons. Well, of course, we observed that this was happening for a long time, but in this particular case with George Floyd, it was so in your face. It was so, I guess, the media is really the thing that really sharpens and make these incidents so much more acute, and you felt so hurt and hopeless that the world doesn't seem to be changing at all, and that Black lives didn't really seem to matter too much. And so I went into, which I've always done. My work had always been about projecting strong, powerful Black women. And I just went into this series, and it's entitled A Tribute to Melanin,
Wow.
the beauty of the Black woman, the beauty of Black skin, and our power and our resilience, and the fact that we are not given enough, I don't want to say praise, but, you know, what should I say? Recognition is the word I'm looking for. For us being the backbones and the pillars of society, especially my local society and Caribbean society in general. So my work has always been about that. And also trying to project positive body images to my children and my granddaughter about a woman doesn't have to be a skinny size 8 or 9 or 10 size to be confident and be powerful in herself. So my women were always very voluptuous. And to me, the blacker the skin, the better. So I don't do any subtleties when it comes to the color of the skin of my women. And they are being, in this instance, they are being given crowns, but crowns of like flowers and leaves and things like that. So I'll just move aside so you can see 3 of them from that series.
Beautiful. I mean, I watch all your art on Facebook and Instagram, and I'm always so amazed. And I was telling you earlier, you are even matching your clothes and your earrings, your necklace are matching. my background is really blank. Look, really.
No, there's no way I don't do bland. It has to be color and it has to be vibrant to me. I have to be stimulated.
I love color, and I definitely go for that as well. And I can see the color in me as well. But yeah, they are really beautiful, and it's definitely what the work I do is very much around women empowerment and picking up. And what you mentioned about the crown of the flower, and I really love that because it's really meeting what we're talking about today, the queens and stepping into the throne. So it's very much what we are about. And I've been looking forward to this conversation for quite a long time. So I'm glad we are here now. So talking about queens, what does the word queen mean to you? Does it resonate?
Okay. Before we get into that, I just want to go back a little bit about when you spoke about us having this discussion about queens. And I really started doing some introspection and some thinking about that subject matter. And I'm realizing that in the era in which I grew up, there are not many queens. There are not many queens for us to look up to and to aspire to be, because we were told that the Queen of England was the person. There is a white woman, far removed from us, and all the excitement and the hullabaloo when somebody of the royal family visited. But when I grew up, I had a feel, or this was my experience, that women were relegated to certain roles. We were like, there were housemakers, like my mom, for instance. She never worked outside of the home. She just stayed at home. The men went out, and that was like, that is their role, to go out and do the job. But as I grew older, I realized that I needed to break out of that mold. That was my whole aim of my earlier life, that I would not be relegated to just being a housewife and a mom. And I worked hard at really breaking that mold and coming out of that. And that then continues to be my message to younger women. I inspire quite a lot of young women by my passion and by my activism for the roles and the rightful place of women. And I also realized in growing up that women were not in the decision making at all, in none of the decision making processes. The highest that women got in as far as I can remember, they were like worked in ministries of education and certain ministries as well. Ministry of Education, social, welfare and things like that. But I'm very proud to say that the Caribbean now, and Antigua has a whole plethora of queens in all spheres of life. I so admire what I'm seeing. I'm really admiring the group of young women that I see coming out today. We have doctors, we have specialists, we have lawyers, we have young women who are working in the environment, in technology, any sphere of life, even like the construction industry. Any sphere of life that you can think about, I am seeing a lot of queens. And I'm talking about women who are self-confident, who are very mindful of who they are, what they want in life, and far removed from this teaching that I had growing up that you were being raised to become somebody's wife or helpmate or just a mother. So I just wanted to give that kind of background. We didn't have many queens, so I basically had to forge my own path after I came to the realization that this is not what I want for my life. Yes, I was married. Yes, I had kids, but I have more. I want more. And the fact that there was a deeper, a fuller meaning to life than just being a wife, somebody's wife and a mom. And I think that's how I've been living my entire life from here onwards. I think that's why I stand out a bit, because there are many women who just don't seem to can get that level of confidence to step out and to step away from that. And I think that's why they look upon me as somebody who is like breaking some glass ceilings and things like that, because I'm enjoying life to the fullest, because I think we can do it all. We can do both. I have raised two very strong women. I have two daughters, and I think I have done a great job in raising them. They're very self-confident, and they were quite unlike me when I was growing up. They're go-getters. They go after what they want in life. And I have a granddaughter, one granddaughter, who is pretty much, she has multiplied what I've instilled in my daughters.
Wow.
Never met a more self-confident young lady. And that makes me very proud, to see that this is happening. So
Wow.
a queen, I'm going to define my queen now. A queen doesn't let anyone define her. In growing up, society sort of put us in boxes and said, this is what you're to become. And you're not supposed to act this way, and you're not supposed to do this, you're not supposed to say that. So a queen is strong and doesn't let anyone define her or put her in their box, really. She is strong. She is confident in what makes her unique. Quite often, we're trying to be like somebody else. I can remember a phrase growing up, my mom would say things like, what are people going to say? What are people going to say if you do this? Okay, like we all used to have these full heads of hair, and then it was the fashion to have an afro. And we all went and cut our hair off. And that's what I want. That's what I felt like doing. But she was just simply mortified. And that is why today I do somebody would say, wait, what's up with you? My husband would wake up this morning and he would find me the bald head. And he would be like, okay. And then tomorrow my hair would be blue. And next week it would be orange. I don't care what people are saying. It's how I feel and how I want to express myself. So that's a queen. Yet a queen is soft and beautiful and strong and powerful. She can be soft, but she can have power as well. She loves and cares deeply for others, which I do. You have to love others. You have to love yourself first as you are. And then that will spill over into loving others. You have to care deeply for others. And I think that is why I made a very good teacher. Besides being a visual artist, I think teaching was my next passion. I was a teacher for about 35 years. And I developed a very close relationship with my students. And the pride that I feel when I see them, all around the country in various positions and stuff, and how they relate back to me and the impact that I had on them, that is powerful. That's very powerful. A queen, she picks herself up when in the time of adversity and troubles and things like that. You can't just like melt into the ground. You can't just give up. You have to have that strength that when you come upon adversity, you just pick yourself up, and it's not always going to be that way, and you move on to the next triumph that you're going to have. She embraces life and lives it fully, which I do. And also, a queen lights the way for others. And that's what I am doing. That is my life's mission. I have achieved a certain level of, people look up to me and aspire to be me. And I don't keep that for myself. I want to show others how they can also bring themselves up. And sometimes another woman just needs a little bit of support, a little bit of encouragement to walk into that queen that she's supposed to be.
Oh, that is wonderful. And this is the main reason I wanted to have a conversation with you, because I knew you embody the queen. You are so full of life. You embrace life to the fullest, and you're not afraid to do anything that will please you, bring you joy.
Yes.
And I think for me, I was really enjoying to see you doing radio, doing acting, doing painting, because
Yes.
I know in my upbringing that wasn't allowed at all. You had to do a job and being a mother and getting
Yes.
a house, and what society tell you what
Yes.
it should look like. And I myself, I do quite a lot. I take a lot of part. I do radio and film and all sorts of different
Yes.
activity in the arts. But
Yes.
there's time I keep thinking, oh, I shouldn't be doing all those different things. I need to focus on one thing. But
No,
every
no,
time I
no,
see
I don't
you,
think so.
I get energized, and I'm like, yes, Heather
Yeah.
can do it. I can do it. So
Listen,
I really
there's
love your
so many
energy.
areas. There's so many areas of life that some of us like. Okay, when I was younger growing up, because of the sheltered upbringing that we had, like I would have been offered an opportunity. Once or twice, I was offered an opportunity to maybe go and study or something like that. And you're just so scared. You're so timid. You don't want to leave your family. You don't want to leave your husband. And then it's something I had to get over. So this is another mantra of mine, that I am never going to let fear prevent me from doing something in my life ever, ever again. Because a lot of us, we look at others, we admire what they're doing, we look at the full life that they're living and the joy. And then you are saying to yourself, why can't I do that? Why can't you? Because sometimes we're the ones who put the stumbling blocks in our way. When I was going off to school in Jamaica at first, Edna Manley, I was already married and I had two daughters already. They were about 8 and 11. And I can remember distinctly, it stands out so much in my mind that my mom would be the one who's saying, are you really going to take this scholarship? Are you really going to go away and leave your husband and your children? And I knew that this was what I wanted to do. Um, we got married, and very shortly afterwards, he went off on like a 6 weeks course. And you don't have a discussion when it's a man's turn, but when it's a woman's turn, there are all these issues and stumbling blocks which are put in your way. And I knew that there were other women who had taken this road before me, and there will be others after me, and that I had enough friends and family members around who would support my husband in the raising of the children while I was away. And then again, there were airplanes flying. You came back and forth from Jamaica every time. And I went off and spent 3 years in Jamaica. It was a very eye-opening cultural experience to me, but it opened me up to other things and other possibilities. So when I really wanted to go and do my master's now, it was a no-brainer. Of course, the kids were, much bigger by then. And it wasn't like, why is it that they put this fear into women that you can't possibly go off and leave the men? What does that really say about men anyway? Because I am stronger than that.
Mm.
If I got back home and my husband wasn't there for me and he moved on, then so be it. But the experience that I would have had would have made me a stronger woman and given me more tools that I could stand on my own 2 feet.
Mm.
So sometimes that is what keeps us back from taking that next step. But number one, you have this fear, and two, you're thinking, if I go away and do this thing, you need to do that. You need to do it because that is what's going to make you a stronger, more independent woman. And I know I needed to do that for
Mm.
me. It wasn't for anybody else. And sometimes as women, this is another way about how we were socialized. You're always putting yourself last. Why is that? We were taught to put ourselves last, and that everything for our husbands or significant others was to be put foremost, on our agenda. And I think it's time women sort of stop doing that to themselves, because only when you are confident in your knowledge and in your strength and everything, do you really have it to give to your children, your husband, your friends, and others behind. So I think that is like my life's message to try and encourage and support other women. I have done it and I know others can follow and do the same. Not because you're married means you cannot go off and get your degree. You always wanted to do nursing. Why can't you go now? You always wanted to do, become a doctor.
Mm.
Because you're married means you can't go off and be a doctor? No, I don't think so.
Yes, we have all sorts of excuses for ourselves and all people. I know I went to university, my daughter was 3 months old, and I know a lot of people did criticize me at the time because
Yes.
you just had a baby, you should be staying home, why going studying? But I am glad I did it, because I
Yeah.
won't be the person I am today if I didn't go and do the studying and carry on with
Oh,
my life.
yes.
And it was the same
Definitely.
time. I did quite a lot of traveling at some point. And again, I got very much criticized for letting my daughter back home and go
Yeah,
traveling.
see,
But
because they are defining you. They have put you in this
yeah,
box that as a woman who has a child, you're supposed to stay at home, not achieve anything, not do anything more than raise this child. So, yeah, that's defining
yeah,
who we
and
should
that
be.
is a really hard thing because I know myself. I've also let other people influence me. I definitely allowed other people opinion
Yeah.
that stopped me from doing things that I should have
Yes.
done. But now I think I'm at a point in my life now. I'm like, no, whatever I need to do, I do it. So I totally agree. It's definitely the way to
Yeah.
go.
That's another thing. When you get to a certain age, I keep wondering and trying to analyze myself and others like, is it that we have to get to a certain age to come to this realization? Is it that that's the way it is? Because like right now, if it was Heather now, like the same Heather like 20, 30 years ago, I would have made different decisions, I'm sure. But
Yeah.
now today, the way I am, nobody could have stopped me. Nothing could have stood in my way, really.
Yeah. But
Mhm.
like you mentioned earlier, there's some younger queens coming up now. I think the younger generation are moving was have the mind of their own a lot more than I did at that age. I can see my daughter, for example, she's a lot more, she know what she wants and she's going for it.
Yes,
But I guess it's the people behind them as well. I mean,
yes.
I am a lot more supportive than my parents were supportive of me of my choices. So I think that also makes a
Hmm.
difference nowadays.
Yeah,
Who are behind all the younger generation. Yeah.
yes. They're definitely on the right path, I think. I've seen a lot of them, a lot of great examples.
I know you talk about a lot of the things you've already done, and I wanted to talk a little bit. I know you've had so many awards for the work you've
Yes.
done, uh, but I'm a very big fan of fashion and design, and I know that
Uh-huh.
you received an award from one of your design. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. Okay. Let me see where to start. I'm going to start from the beginning and come down to that one. Okay. So I started with my involvement in Antigua's Carnival. We have Carnival every year from July, late July into early August. And because I'm an artist, I was drawn to that. And then I met my husband then, he was my boyfriend then, who was involved in the making of costumes.
Right.
And I just gravitated towards that. And of course, it was a male dominated field at that time. And I watched what they were doing, and I said, I think I would like to do this. And then I went off to Edna Manley and came back with this newfound vision of, the proper design and stuff like that, elements and principles of design. So I wanted to now put these into the costume making. So my husband and I branched off and we formed, our own little thing. And we started making not just the costumes for the troops of 200-300 people, but we had something called a Carnival Queen Show.
Mhm.
And this involves a young lady coming out in a huge costume on stage. And they were so huge that they had to be put on casters so
Right.
they could run across the stage. And we started doing that, I think it's in 1988 until about 2006. And we just kept on, we introduced like new things, new ideas into the whole area, because I came back and I wanted to try out these new ideas. One of them which sticks out in my mind is every costume that I noticed before that was very multicolored. And I came back and I said, why can't we have a one color costume? One color and the tints and the shades of that color. And I did that. And that year it was like an uproar. I can remember all the other male designers saying, oh, she doesn't know what she's doing. It's carnival. Who does a one? And now a one color costume is a staple. All right. I was criticized in the media for doing that and all sorts of stuff. But we were a very successful couple at it. And our costumes just kept winning first place and second place and so on for many years. So that I'm extremely proud about. When I went to Savannah, I was doing my master's and I sort of did a lot of experimentation and I came up with these new techniques and use of new materials. And the school was so impressed, the department was so impressed by the work I was doing. My work was selected by the college. Now you're talking about a college with thousands of people and departments. And my work was selected to represent the school at the Venice Biennale, which is the largest modern art show in the world. That was a proud moment for me that my work was sent. And then when I put on my thesis show, the school purchased almost the whole collection for their permanent collection. That's wonderful. That was awesome. And I also was selected to Who is Who in American colleges and universities because I kept a 4.0 average for the entire time I was there. So those are pretty proud moments. Then I acted, someone came by, this local production company decided that they were going to be doing their second full-length movie. It was called No Seed. And they came to my house and asked me, have I ever done any acting? I said, well, besides what I did at high school, no. But they think that I would make the perfect lead role. And the role was of a female prime minister of an island, a fictitious island. Of course, that was right up my street. So I said yes, and that was a pretty awesome experience for me. The whole, I got a whole back scene, how you really do a movie, how you film it, all that it entails. And I think it was a pretty successful movie. I think I did an awesome job. And then they came back another time and asked me about starring in a made for TV series. It was called Paradise View, and I accepted that again. What I liked about that and why I accepted, because in the movie I did this powerful woman, a prime minister, but in this one I was going to play like a shopkeeper. I had like a rum shop. I like that. It was really fun doing that. And then I was asked to do. There is a writer. Her name is Elaine Spies from England, and she wanted to put on some stage plays in Antigua. And I guess based on what she saw me do before, she asked me to be part of them. So I acted in 2 stage plays. Sweet Lady was one of them, and Elroy Prescott has now left the building. I acted in those. And then after that, I was picked up by a group of Antiguan women who decided to put on the vagina monologues.
Oh, yes.
And I acted in that. And all the funds that they collected for that and for those performances went towards abused women, to assist women of physical and emotional abuse. So I did TV, film, and the stage as well. Then in 1992, there was a competition because Antigua didn't have a national dress. So there was a competition, it was thrown out to the public for persons to design both a male and female national dress designed for Antigua and Barbuda. Well, I decided to submit 2 copies for male and 2 female, and both my male and female won. So I am the designer of the national dress of Antigua and Barbuda, and you had to have your criteria. Of course, we're given a criteria to base it on, and the criteria has a lot to do with our African heritage, hence the colors. The madras being one of the most popular fabrics that was available to us during the post-emancipation period, and things like that. So I am the proud designer of the national dress of Antigua and Barbuda. In 2002, I received national recognition for my contribution to arts and culture. That is an award that is given every year at our Independence Time in November. So at the end of my name, I usually put GCM, which is Grand Cross of the Most Illustrious Order of Merit. So that's national recognition. That was proud for me because, you're recognized by people the world over, but when it's from your own country, it says something more to me. Last year, 2020, this was just before COVID, I was selected for a Woman of Wadadli Award. This was put on by the Gender Affairs Department, and they selected women who have been making meaningful contribution. And I received mine in the area of arts and culture once again. That was very special for me again because you're being recognized by your own country and your own people. And that's it, goes on and on. Another proud achievement of mine was the fact that the education side of me, I was curriculum officer in the Ministry of Education for many years. And then I took up the job as director of culture for Antigua and Barbuda. So, I was really tasked with developing all of various art forms and, coming up with a cultural policy and things like that. I did that for 3 years. It was a pretty exciting and a tough job for me, but I really enjoyed it as well. And then I worked with the Caribbean Examinations Council. We stopped doing Cambridge and things like that. We developed our own exam. And so it's the Caribbean Examinations Council. I acted as chief examiner for over 10 years, and I worked with them for about 20 something years. And with that, we were tasked with coming up with the syllabus, setting the exams, in charge of marking the exams and things like that. So I have been pretty busy, occupied, and very involved with all the things that I've been tasked with doing, but I enjoyed all of them.
Yes, and congratulations for all this awards and really well done. I mean, yeah, you've been very busy and you're still very busy. No slowing down by the look of things.
No slowing down. Okay, so I have to talk about my recent project now. My most recent project, my daughter, she lives in Toronto, and she had been saying that, Mom, we really need to take you bigger. We need to take you to the wider world. We need to take your art to the. Of course, I wasn't brought up in the techno age, so I didn't quite grasp what she was trying to tell me. But just when we were about to do that, she was diagnosed with breast cancer. So that was put on hold until she got all her treatment and everything. She's okay now. And then COVID hit, and they got the last flight out from Toronto to Antigua. So that was another year if things were delayed. But now, happy to say, she got the last flight back to Toronto. She's there now, and she has dedicated herself to taking Mom to the world. So one of the things she has done is she got in touch with Redbubble, which is a company out of Australia, I think it is. And so this company has all these products, and my artwork then is placed on this wide range of products. So redbubble.com has the items and the artwork. She then supplies them with the artwork. So your artwork, my artwork, is now on clothing, sheet sets, bath mats, shower curtains, phone cases, the works, just name it. So if you go to redbubble.com and search for Heather Doram, you will find all my products there. And the other thing, which was also something in the making for quite a while, I'm pleased to say it's out. I have had the drawings for 4 coloring books for quite a while, but guess what? They're completed and they're now available on Amazon.
Oh, amazing. We're going to have
4 coloring books. One of them is entitled Homeland. You know, that kind of has like Middle East African inspiration. The other one is nature. One is like underwater, and the other one is I forgot, but it's basically scenery, Antigua's local scenery, market women, our little houses, and things like that. So those are 2 exciting projects which has happened this year.
I will
so
have to
far.
check them all out.
Yes.
Earlier you said that you had to forge your own path to become who you are today. But is there anybody you look up to or got inspired in terms of other women in the world in Antigua? Maybe now or past?
As I said, growing up, I didn't have too many of them. I've worked with a lot of women, especially when I was teaching, like who were like principals, and I admired their strength and, you know, the way how they conducted themselves and managed a school of, you know, upwards of 400 kids. I admired a few of those school principals and other teachers that I work with. I met a lady from Jamaica when I went to work with CXC at first. She was the chief of the visual arts, and then she moved on to the Cape exams, and she recommended me for the role. I guess she must have seen something in me that she recommended me for the position of chief examiner for the O-level exams. And I think I admire her a lot. She was brilliant. She had her doctorate, and I think she was working on doing a second doctorate when she passed. But she had a real impact on me. Just her quiet way of going about doing things and how she got them done, and how she would take her time to explain things to me of how this is done. She took me under her wing and showed me this is how this is done. I couldn't have done it without her. On the other hand, not to ruin that, but on the other hand, I found quite often when I worked with men, they wouldn't show you any, they wouldn't take you under their wing or teach you anything. Like, this is the process. And I am all about that. If you're going to be taking over for me, like succession planning, I believe in that. You want the person, or I'm working with you. Suppose I am ill, which happens quite a lot here. I would like to know the other person can carry on the whole process. And I think that is why us in the Caribbean, we suffer so much. We make 10 steps forward and we make 10 steps backwards in the same, because we just want to kind of like hold things close. And I'm not like that. I want everybody around me to know whatever I'm doing. So just in case, you know, you might not be here tomorrow. Wouldn't you like to know that the other person can carry on? What is it that you're supposed to be doing? And then I met 2 ladies, the 2 professors that I met at Savannah College. Why I admired those ladies? Another very quiet way how they just went about teaching us what we're supposed to be about. But what I liked is that they took me out of my comfort zone. I think that's what I admired about them. You came in, you were already an established artist. You knew a lot of things. You knew how to paint this and that. But what next? That's the question they asked me. What next? So that's why you were thrown into the studio to just do some exploration, experimentation, and stuff like that. We want to take you beyond. And this is what life should really be about, I think, with women and us helping each other. That yes, you are here, but you can go to another level. which would make you so much more fulfilled. So I admired those persons as well. I admire my mom in certain respects because she was of this age and this generation where she didn't get I don't think she got to secondary school education, but she was extremely resourceful. Here you have 7 girls, and you having to find 3 meals a day for 7 girls, clothe, you have to clothe them, and you have to teach them all the social skills and everything like that. And she helped herself so much because my dad was away from the house for most of every day. And suppose she needed something at the shop or something like that. And every mode of transport that he had, she taught herself to use it. So in those days, they had like, I don't a Vespa, a Vespa. Yes. So she taught herself to. I can see her like doing it and falling off and stuff. And then she learned to ride a motorbike. And then she taught herself to drive the car so that she was able to take us to school. My mom was one of the first women in Antigua to drive a car. When she was coming into town with the 7 girls in the car, people would just stand at the side of the road just to watch this woman because no woman was driving a car before that. So she was a forerunner in a lot of ways. So I admire her for that. And I admire my sisters. We all have come up and forged our own path. And, a lot of us have broken away, had to break out of the way we were brought up so that we don't remain stagnant and that we do so much more and become so much more fulfilled and stop worrying about what people are going to say and things like that. Otherwise, if you're going to keep worrying about what people are going to say, you won't achieve very much in life. Yeah, so that was some of them. And then one more person I would like to mention, which was a sweetheart to me, was one of my mom's sisters. I think she was my mom was also from a very large family. But this particular sister of hers, all of us gravitated to that sister because she was so opposite to my mom. She was so open with us. She spoke about her sexuality and if my mom knew half the things that she was telling us, she would be mortified. So I loved her with a passion for that. I missed her dearly when she passed because one of the joys of a Sunday afternoon would be driving to her house to get all her stories about, her husband and his infidelities. And she would speak about, I don't know what you call it, like jumbies or spirits.
Right, yeah.
She was, yes, she was into this and she would talk about like, oh, somebody died. So we would find all this load of sand all around her house. I mean, so why did you do that? It was to keep that spirit from not coming into the house because the spirit would have to count every grain of sand before he could get into the house. Listen, she was one of the women I remember from my childhood about just bringing this joy, this passion, and this zeal for life. That's what I liked about her. I'm going to call her name Auntie Rosie.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing with us. I know we've run out of time, but I wanted to ask you one more questions. And I know you've given us a lot of wise wisdom already.
Yeah.
But if you're going to give the younger generation some advice about moving on into life, what would be your advice?
My advice would be to just live your passion, be you, believe in yourself. I don't care what your size, the color of your skin, your station in life. We all as women need to feel fulfilled. I don't want to see any more young women walking around with sad, long faces and at the end of their days, that they live with all this regret that they didn't do what they really wanted to do. Find what your passion is. Everybody has something that they always thought when they were going to school or child. Whatever it is, make that first move towards getting that done. And another thing, reach out for help when you need it. Not many women, I don't know why that is, if it's how we were socialized. I have had persons who would call me up and say, I'm starting a new business. Can you give me some guidelines or whatever? And I'm always willing to help. So we have to be willing to help others as well. When you have reached your pinnacle or succeeded at what you're doing, you need to put yourself out and to give back and to help others who are coming up behind as well. So that would be my message to the younger generation.
Oh, that's that beautiful message. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Mine as well.
I could sit here all evening, probably the afternoon your side, but talk to you, and I am sure
it is now 2:45, 2:45.
Yes, it's evening in our side, and I am still very jealous of knowing where you are in the world.
You have to come and visit one of these days. I have an Airbnb right next to me.
Oh, wow, that's good to know. We'll have to come and visit Antigua.
Right. Welcome anytime. Thank you so much, Miss Shine. Nice to see you face to face.
I know, finally. Thank you so much.